Living Proof Radio is often praised for its ability to connect with listeners on an emotional level and inspire them to pursue their passions. Stories of ordinary people overcoming challenges and achieving extraordinary feats. These stories tap into universal human experiences of aspiration and struggle and can help listeners feel motivated and empowered. For weekly episodes and full length, visit patreon.com/livingproofnewyork.
Speaking to the mic.
Growing up with a dad who's into graffiti.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just part of what the household is like. You know, there's black books and weirdos coming in and visiting and, talking, like, listening to my phone calls and, all sorts of shit. It's funny. It's funny like that. But it's not like, my wife and I talked about it and we're like, oh, he's going to be the best writer. On the contrary, I actually kept myself from making it such a big thing for him because, there are other things in life that I'm sure are a lot more advantageous to learn. Although, graffiti is a pretty good way. I'll tell you, it teaches you a lot of things.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was, thinking about this recently. There's obviously a lot of bad that comes with it, but a lot of good as well. And it's definitely opened my mind in ways that I don't think the regular person can, understand. But it's taught me so much, and I think you've taught me so much through it as well. Just by watching you go through life and, seeing how you do things, I definitely see you as a role model to me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. I was just gonna.
I think we're I was thinking that we're getting to a point in the world of graffiti and its history that I feel like there was a common conception that is true in a lot of ways that graffiti is this fucking super bad thing that you're going to end up becoming super addicted to drugs, and you're also going to end up getting stabbed and stabbing people and getting into fights and doing all this thing and maybe being homeless. But I think that as the ages pass and the eras pass and you realize there's actually people who their graffiti or even graffiti adjacent base has led to mass success in a different way, but it's still successful nonetheless, and a healthy, happy life of a lot of exposure and a lot of shit that you otherwise wouldn't have learned. You look at Craig Costello, Rob Cristofaro, Kunle Martins, yourself, or graffiti adjacent people like Ryan McGinley. There's tons of people. Leo Fitzpatrick, who I also consider graffiti adjacent. You're just in the same exact style of worlds, maybe not doing the exact same things, but nonetheless. And you learn and realize that, especially in New York City, I think it's different if you're outside of New York, but particularly if you're in New York City, human connection is such a fucking insane thing that leads to a lot of good things. And by writing graffiti, you're just meeting people. You're kind of just chilling outside all the time. Whereas maybe someone else who's age 20 or 22 or 24, they're in school 24/7, or they're in an office 24/7, or they're doing whatever. They're not making the amount of connections. One of my best friends is fucking Frankie Carbone. That dude, university for him was working at A-Life, meeting 50 billion people. And I think that's something that graffiti does, you know what I mean? And you're doing it right now. And maybe in ways where it's straight up unseen and only gets realized to its full potential later. I'm still hanging out, but not nearly as much as I was before. And when I look back, even just a few years when I was chilling 24/7, I'm like, holy shit, dude, that was crazy. I was meeting mad heads at one time. Now I'm still meeting mad heads, but in a completely different way. But like, yeah, I think that's one of the positives that comes from Graph, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think nowadays the in the graffiti culture, it's totally different. It's so friendly now. I swear to God. When I was growing up, it was a totally different thing. Like, you didn't want to meet people because they were gonna rob you. Or you invite them over your house and all sorts of chaos happens, and but yeah, absolutely, the people I meet in graffiti nowadays are really intelligent people with highly sensitive way of seeing life.
I think can I if I think if I could say part of that, well, there's a few factors that I've been thinking about why this is occurring. I think one of them is the fact that in this new generation, we've been able to see what has happened to the previous generation before and see like what the fuck happens when you're fucking high on dust all the time, like you see what happens when you're fucking drugged out and like strung out, and we see those people now in their 50s, whatever, and see the type of life they lead, and we see that, oh, well, we could do the same thing that they were doing and have just as much fun and have the same connections and learn so much just as they did, but without all the excess that puts you down and causes your life to be hell. You could do both. You could fucking have a full-time job and write graffiti and go out and make all those same connections. Fuck, I go to school too, like I do a lot of shit, and I feel like anyone can do that. They just gotta like reflect and see what the fuck is going on around you in this world, and see that like, yo, fucking, I don't want to end up a fucking crackhead, so like let me take care of my shit, but also like have fun. Yeah.
That's what I like about the youth. Like, I was well on my way to be a grumpy old man who would, say, oh, yeah, your music nowadays, listen to this, and, oh, New York this, I miss blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I met you, and I met your friends, and they seem pretty enlightened people doing the do and maintaining active, responsible lives. It makes me very hopeful for the future of New York.
Question: What was it like being my age, living in the late 80s, early 90s? Like, what would you say some of the differences like of how I lead my life compared to how you lead your life? Because I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, you and I have like done a lot of the same things. We go
hung out at the same places 30 years apart.
Exactly, dude. Hang out at the same places, go to the same bars. Like, it's like the same thing,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what are some like key differences that you've noticed compared to?
Well, communication. Like you grew up with technology. I spent hundreds of hours waiting for people on corners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And learning the fucking payphone monopoly, calling on people, codes on beepers and shit like that. That was funny, but it was a totally different thing. And, the subcultures in New York always regenerate. You have the naive youth hanging out downtown, and they have their own downtown experience. But the thing is that it's going to be constantly new because they're new people. Replacing the old people.
Replacing the old, same things going down.
Yeah, with the same values,
Yeah.
And it's refreshing to see. You can't hate on that.
Yeah.
You know, it's naive and beautiful.
Yeah.
It's also cool for me, at least, to see like, you know, every era of New York has its people, like you guys are talking about, and like right now in terms of like, not just graffiti but also skateboarding and like art creation and also just like creation of things like clothing and shit. Like it's you and your group of homies are kind of the ones doing it right now, like you and Xavier on that graffiti shit, and then like other parts
All
of your
our
friend.
other homies have so many things that we like doing. And you know, I was speaking to one of my good friends about this, Kyoto, how you know, what makes our friend group so special is the fact that we're all kind of outsiders who kind of click together into a friend group where we each have our own separate individual interests, but we bond in that way that we can all come together and also help create new things with our separate interests and collaborate and create all sorts of new creative endeavors.
It's a powerful fucking
It's
thing.
so powerful.
It's also a powerful group of people, and I
it's
think that as
beautiful.
time passes, like people will, not to just OD it right now, but fuck it, like as time passes, like I'm talking like even just 10 years, people are gonna be like, yo, that you and your friend group was like very pivotal, very like influential, like from the graffiti to the skating to the whole like it's
Well, I hope so.
it's pretty, at least for me, it's like pretty clear, like pretty going to happen, which is nuts because you're just like here right now doing the thing right now. So to think about that whole thing, not that that's even the goal, like the goal is kind of just like live your life true to yourself in the way that you guys are doing it, and it's all happening super naturally and organically. But I think it's mad cool to see, and I'm also grateful to know you guys because like I don't know, if not, then that's just like a whole thing that I don't get to witness and experience, and like it's just cool. And I wouldn't, like a lot of people, I wouldn't know you specifically if it wasn't for fucking Franklin, because I'm like
himself.
yeah, because I'm like a whatever. But yeah, no, it's cool to witness. And
but I gotta hand it to you too, you know, like I think you're also definitely part of that whole creative friend group. You know, you guys with the podcast, everything, like kudos to you guys. You guys are killing it. And,
yeah, man.
And everybody knows, like worldwide. I was one of my homies who comes from Australia. He was just speaking to me about the podcast and how he also, like, you know, has heard about Angel and Z and Living Proof. And I'm like, you know, like, what the fuck? That's like, that's all the way on the other side of the fucking
internet,
world.
dude.
Yeah, it's the internet. It's a crazy place. But, like, you know, you're definitely a part of it as well. And all of us are part of it together. And, you know, we make what this next generation puts to the table, you know, and it's great.
Do you want to ask a question? I can.
Yeah, I want to ask a few questions to
thing.
you, Pop. So, like,
you guys want water?
Sure.
I can give you. You guys
Yeah.
can keep talking. I'll put
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
near
yeah.
your thing.
So, Pop, well, I know a lot of your friends now, obviously, but speaking to a few of them, like, it seems like you guys didn't really meet through graffiti necessarily.
No.
Like a lot of the people that you have told me about and like surrounded yourself with, you guys obviously write graffiti together, but you guys also do a lot of other things as well. For example, like Stack, TFP, like that's one of my favorite graffiti writers of all time. And like, so are you. And I mean, from what I've heard from him, at least, like it seems like you guys know each other through the hardcore scene a lot more, or like than like just through graffiti. But it just happens to be that both of your styles are just so incredible.
Well, I think that Stack and I had a lot of the same influence. We were looking at a lot of the same things. So It was a good thing when we got together. I actually know Stack from both that scene. I think it was Ed Hush that introduced us at CBGB's matinee one Sunday. And I was like, yo, this is an ill motherfucker. I gotta hang with this guy.
Yeah.
Because he's a good dude. I will
But
not lie.
it's just like interesting to me how like you meet all these people through other things, and then it just happens to be that they're also graffiti writers, and then you guys build off of each other.
Yeah, well, it was not difficult to find a graffiti writer. You know, we all ended up working in similar places in either nightclubs or bars. Lots of writers working as busboys. You know, I know at the Palladium, the whole busboy staff was like writers, notable writers of 80s New York City.
Really? Like who?
Neo, NOG, Pure, TFP. Stack and I worked for Palladium and Limelight on the art department.
Oh, sick.
Those were fucking good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we would work those nightclubs all day on the art department, and then party at night. I worked at the club night times also. So I practically lived there, and I only went home to sleep. But it was a good time.
Was there ever any time for painting?
There was time for painting, you know, but by then I was pretty much a solo artist. I had, I had grown apart from my writer friends, and I learned a solo practice that I really enjoyed. You know, it wasn't often, but I would find spots that were really cutty.
Yeah.
And put my name up, and it was just, it was really more of a personal
adventure.
journey for me. You know what I mean?
But you were talking about transitioning to that period. What was your period of like graffiti like prior to that? Like, who were you painting with? What were you doing?
Okay, well, I guess we can go back to 1983. My brother, who also wrote Dasher, he actually introduced me to graffiti. He was going to New York Art Students League on 57th Street, and he met a bunch of writers over there who got it into his brain, and he was bringing home these crazy black books with pieces done in rapidographs and really saturated design marker 2-pagers, and it was bananas to me. You know, I was looking at a lot of heavy metal magazine, and these writers, these amateur artists, teenagers were doing these full-scale, beautiful black books, and I was like, holy shit, that's fucking bananas.
Yeah.
I never saw anything like that. You know, I was 13 years old. What did I see, really?
Yeah.
You know, and so I started going to Art Students League, and I met Dutch, RIS, really good guy, rest in peace. He was coming over the house a lot, and we would go racking for stuff to sell to the bodegas and shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was fun. You know, you would go for the D batteries because people loved those for the radios. They were carrying the radios around a lot. And Tylenol, of all things.
Tylenol?
People love to buy Tylenol.
I see.
Yeah. Anyway.
Any crazy racking adventures?
Also, racking just came through graffiti?
racking came through necessity.
Okay.
You know, we didn't have a lot of money. I had to rack a lot of my sneakers and my clothes and stuff because other than that, you know, I was going to the Husky section in like a school uniform shop. You know what I mean? And I was buying like Wrangler pants, and you know, it's like it was not what was on trend back then. So I had to so I had to rack all of my shit, which was
You think
not
it was easier to rack back then? Because this is always the question that I have in my mind when I hear about people racking from the fucking shops in the city, and just like, not just like, it's consistently the same shops that are getting racked from. I'm like, how do these fools not know? Like, how the fuck?
I think that there is there's a different vibe in stores right now, because a lot of the stores that are being robbed are these huge like Home Depots and Whole Foods and shit like that, and it's very cold and you don't feel guilty. But then mom and pop shops was a different thing, but that's all we had back then, you know. And I was only racking what I needed, to be honest with you. I wouldn't go all out. You know, I was taught a system of sleeve racking and back racking, where you would pin the cuff of your sleeve and slip shit into the sleeve and just wear it over your shoulder. Or, you know, it's just like the plain old back racking where you stuff it into your shirt and push it to the back with your elbows. But that was pretty useful for back then. You know, I wasn't pushing any carts back then. You know, Home Depot was a new thing to me.
I think, in my opinion, well, I obviously wasn't there, but I think surveillance is a huge thing in modern time. Like, your face is literally everywhere.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think if you go rack to a certain degree, it's easy because they don't really give a fuck until they actually do, and then it's a big deal. I think a lot of these stores let you get away with a lot more than you think. I think the individual think, oh, I'm getting away with this, it's all good, like nobody saw me. But I'm pretty sure that they all know. I have a feeling that these big stores know that you're stealing this shit, and a lot of them could give a fuck, but shit, like they get it back through insurance, you know.
I
so
think
it's
those
like
decisions are made from the top.
yeah.
And so they'll have meetings and say, hey, listen, you know, even if you see it, ignore it, blah, blah, blah. You know
Until
what I mean?
until it's not like that, though.
Yeah.
Until it gets to an extent.
They've been waiting and debating as to when to put on the heat. You know what I mean? It goes in waves.
It does go in waves. So yeah, so you racked your paint, and then like.
Oh yeah. So anyway, our house was like it was a writer hangout back then. You know, I was actually really too young to be hanging out with these guys, but you know, Ghost was at our house a lot. Rec 127, Sir 167, Lost, RIS, Cole.
How much older are these guys compared to you?
Oh, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe 6 years. You know, I think Frank was the oldest one of the crew that was hanging out, but all sorts of people would roll through. And to be honest, I was probably not such great friends with any of them. I had to find my own friends, you know. But I was actually, I was halfway into writing, halfway into BMXing. And, I think the BMXing took over. But with the biking, I was able to find a lot of spots and do a lot of exploring that way.
Yeah. Do you think hanging around the people that you were hanging out with when they would come over to your house, like, influenced your style in many ways? Because shit, there's a lot of people like who, like, just fucking write graffiti and their shit sucks, So, like, do you think hanging the bar being set pretty high originally led you to, the improvement that you have?
I think it's a lot of things. I don't think that the writers. I think it was more the watching of trains, of panels going by, that influenced me. What I really love throw-ups. I feel like they are probably the hardest part of graffiti.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do. And I actually, more than the pieces, I enjoyed watching the Dusty Fills. KP was probably one of my favorites to see. Let's see, Dole CAC had a really quick, fast throw-up style. SP, one of my favorites also. But it was actually, watching trains go by, and and then actually painting, because you find your body's natural motion. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like can control in itself is more than just your fucking hand, but more your entire, like, body and how you're able to flow using this medium. Because I feel like, if you fucking move your leg a certain way, then the rest of your body is moving a certain way, and then your hand is moving a certain way, So, like, and, like, the fluidity of piecing in general also has to do with the types of motions your body makes.
Yeah.
And, like, how a line looks, whether it's very straight or very soft, or all of that has to do with, like, the position that you're in, and how, like, where do you stop, where do you keep going, where do you start the line and where does it finish,
Yeah. I feel like it's more like a performance when you do a piece. Like it's the visualization of your movements. You know what I mean?
Do you ever come up to a wall and have a pre-planned sketch, or do you
not
just
for
paint?
a long time? I'll have an idea.
Okay.
Of what I want to do, because I do a lot of sketching. It's.
What do you recommend for the young generation in terms of, like, how to build up their style skills and how they can get better at piecing?
By going out and painting. You know.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, shit.
No.
At this point, dude, everybody goes out and paints. Like, literally, there's 10,000 writers in New York.
Yeah.
Every single fucking person has a spray can.
You shouldn't try to be like other writers. You should try to be like your own writer, style-wise.
Yeah.
Find what it is that gets you off. Like, there's, like, if you have a basic throw-up, just keep doing it over and over and over and over again, and it will turn into something that's completely your signature.
Yeah.
It's really true. It's a really cool thing too. Like my thoroughly, if you look at a picture of my thoroughly from 12 years ago, it's literally the same thoroughly, but it's not. Like it is so shitty, dude. But it's the same it's the same shit.
It's
Have
a
you
different
seen, like,
iteration.
Enzo's throwy, like back in the day, like 10, 12 years ago? Like it has the same ideas. Or like, dude, you know who's a good example? One of my favorite like New York street bombers is Panic. Panic. There's this throwy in fucking Elmhurst, Queens, on this roof from like 2009, and it's a Panic throwy, and it looks pretty much the same exact shape. It has the same ideas and everything, but it's like so primitive. Raw. It's literally the same shapes and the same ideas, but you can tell like the level of comfortability compared to where he's at now. And I'm like, wow, you know, that's such a sick thing to see. And same with you too. Like I see your throwy from back in the day from old photos, and it is the same. But I think it's the comfortability in the movements. Even me too, like a lot of my letters are basically the same shape and ideas, but they are always like just getting better.
I think it's funny how if you just do the same shit 4 billion times, it'll just slowly change. Even though when you're doing it the exact same way. Maybe like one small line different by like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a
It'll make you
invisible
fucking
centimeter.
insane.
And then like 800 times later, it's like that thing
That's
that's like
muscle memory,
10,000
dude.
hours type of thing.
Yeah.
The people who have done it 40 billion times, like you look at MQ's throw, like it's been the same but different for so long.
Yeah.
It's
It
crazy.
it's like that for a lot of writers. I honestly think that, like, going back to what I was talking about earlier about like the movement and the fluidity of like motions throughout your body has a lot to do with it too. You know, when you first start, you're not very sure of like how things really work. Like you have a basic understanding and a gist of how you want it to look, and you have that idea in your head, but it's just not completely coming out because, you know, your body isn't designed to write graffiti. So,
Yeah.
you know, but then after a while, it just like evolves and gets better and better because it's like that thing that's in your head, the way you actually want it to look. Or if you don't even know that you want it to look like that, but eventually you do, like,
Yeah.
it's just going to get more and more comfortable and more you.
Yeah, that's why you have to like really get into that state where you're half aware and in control, and then you're letting the paint, you're letting the space tell you what to do. Like you can't really be a control freak if you want good style.
I think it's cool too. Like I'm thinking right now, like my brain goes to martial arts, and like if you look at like the highest level people, the highest level black belts in martial arts, they don't have like 50 billion techniques, even though they know them. Like they just do the same 3 really well, and they can just do it to anybody. And then you look at like a black belt level writer, like I consider Kunle ear snot like a black belt level writer, where like he doesn't need a 50 billion techniques, dude. He just has like a tag and then the outline, and then like can just do it at the right spot at the right time on a level that's super subtle. It's pretty complex, honestly. Like the way you go about hitting a door, even if you have a good hand style, if you do your shit like this big and sideways, that shit is whack. But if you like make the door you're essentially making it a new object. Like you should take that door and make it a new object. Like that's the whole point in my brain, at least. That's why it's cooler to hit a door that's clean and like hit it the perfect way and like create this new.
Yeah.
This is like no longer a door with a tag on it. This is just like a fucking Kunle door now, and like hopefully no one else hits this.
Dude, I completely agree with you, and this is why like hitting virgin walls and like shit, like last night I did this spot and it was completely blank, and it was beautiful. And I think that has to do with that, in the sense that like, dude, it was just a wall, but now shit, now it's a toker wall, you know, it's mine. It's mine, and it's like, it's hopefully nobody hits it, because then it's just going to be a wall full of graffiti. But currently it's like a wall that's like just me and my presence.
Which is nice.
Which is nice, dude. And I see that in like a lot of, I see that in your graph too, in the sense that like when you had that tag run, something that was sick was that you guys had every fucking mailbox going down, and like each single tag was just a fucking huge vertical tag. And I mean, shit, when I first started, like, that was one of the first things that I noticed in graffiti. Shit, like, before I seen fucking Kunle and like whatever, like all sorts of like writers' photos from like previous time, like what was out when I first started noticing graph was fucking huge fucking tags of yours, you know? And I'm like, okay, he took up the entire space. That's fucking cool, you know? He's not leaving anything for other people to just like hop on, you know? And I think that's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's cool too, like the whole thing, like to take it back, there's like that quote from Bruce Lee on some, I don't fear the person who's done like 10,000 kicks, or like who knows 10,000 kicks. I fear the person who's done one kick 10,000 times. And it's like with a tag or a throwaway or honestly anything in life, you're essentially just doing that. Like fucking, you're just going to do this one name. Because it's kind of a weird rule. Like, oh yeah, you only write one name. And you only should have like, for the most part, one tag style. And like if you have other tag styles, they should be pretty fucking goddamn close so people can tell. Like that's kind of a weird rule. Like why is that the rule? But you know, it makes sense on a branding perspective. And also you're just practicing the same, you're essentially practicing like when you're out tagging, because you're not like even 3, 4, 5, 6 years in, you're not like your highest level of what you're going to end up being. So you're essentially just in real time practicing outside 50 fucking billion times until you've reached a state where like to take it back to Kunle, like when I interviewed him, he was saying like he reached a state or found the ability to make it so that like one of his tags counts for like 50 of someone's throw up, or I don't want to put words in his mouth, but whatever he said, like it was something like that. Like you have to figure out how to make that equation happen where one of your tags is like 80 of someone throw up. And that's why, you know, like a dude like that comes through, does a tag, and obviously there's a lore and a legend behind it. That's part of graffiti though. Like they hit one tag, now no one's paying attention. They hit one tag on this door, now no one's paying attention to the whole block of fucking throwies and other shit and stickers and just in a very oversaturated graffiti scene, honestly. But they're paying attention to this door because like that's the equation that was figured out. That's fucking insane.
Yeah, it's impactful. Like a lot of the time, your name will get lost because of the saturation, and it's all about how you see things and where your name will look the best. Like Vfer and his vertical tags, those are probably my favorite thing ever. And it's like you would turn a corner and there was a Vfer, vertical Vfer, VFR. That was just the sickest thing to find, you know. And it really wasn't difficult to find them, but it was nice.
He's definitely fucking sick, Vfer.
He's
like,
so insane.
He's so insane. Honestly, funny thing, I was just in Detroit, and like Detroit's now a fucking buff. Like I went on this trip partially because of the fact that I have this like fucking weird nerdy mentality where I'm like, dude, I saw this video of Pear NSF fucking bombing Detroit 12 years ago, fucking FTMD, fucking whatever. And I'm like, dude, like, I need to do that because it's so fucking sick. But then I go to Detroit and it's a fucking buff, but there's one Vfer tag. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck?
That's
like,
crazy.
Where the, why is Vfer in Detroit? It's like that type of thing.
There's also this cool formula that I feel like happens that doesn't go as spoken about, but people know it subconsciously, which is like if someone's really up for a long ass time, like really up, and they have really good style, and they're really up, but then time passes and now they're not really up anymore. Now their shit has this value that's like almost like a painting from someone who's passed, who was a legend in their time. Like now it's like, if you see a fucking VFer, you will take a photo of it. You will want to keep that photo as like a digital fucking token in your phone. Like I went uptown 2 years ago, turned the corner, there was a fucking fire hydrant with a vertical VFer, and I'm like, oh my God. But I just seen so much graffiti on my way there. There was also some good, some bad, and I didn't care whatsoever. And there's that thing where like in graffiti you're supposed to be super up in large quantities. But I have noticed that when you do that and then you disappear like a fucking ghost and then you randomly hit a tag, then it's like the value just increases so crazy.
Dude, I completely agree.
I love that.
It's fucking sick, dude. Like, fucking Next, rest in peace. I mean, he hasn't been with us for many years now, but whenever I see, like, dude, he fucking crushed, like, everywhere. And then, like, seeing the little remnants of, like, dude, I was walking to the homie's crib in Williamsburg, and I just, like, seen a fucking Next pole tag, and I'm like, dude, this is fucking dope. And yet, on the way to his house, I've seen, like, 30 fill-ins. I've seen a fucking giant-ass Stomper straight letter, and I'm like, I don't care, like, whatever. Like, I read it. It was cool. But that Next tag on the pole has so much more significance to me, you know, because it fucking has all that nostalgia. It has all the history. It has all of what he's done in his time in that one little tag. And I think that's so sick. I think that's really sick to remember that, like, literally that one little thing that you see, whatever it is, has so much more to it than just that one little tag. You know, it has all of the fucking nights and all the fucking, like, blood and sweat of years prior in that one little fucking tag. And the reason why you notice it is because at one time they were the fucking sickest. Yeah. And that's like a little fucking, it's like a little fucking souvenir, a little fucking postcard into, like, whenever, fucking 20 years ago, 30 years ago, depending on who it is. It's fucking dope, dude.
Yeah, in terms of reaching, like, I guess, aims in graffiti, I'm sure, like, there was a point where you were, like, you specifically were like, oh, I want to get a good hand style, or, like, oh, I want to get a good throw up, or, oh, I want to, let's say, be more up in these areas, or, oh, I want to, and in a relatively short time compared to the career, I kind of feel mad weird using that word for graffiti, like my graffiti career, but, like, just for lack of a better term, in the terms of, like, your graffiti career, you've done it way faster than a lot of people have done it. And, like, I know you're still writing graph and doing all these things, but, like, what is your aim, I guess, long term, or are you so passionate about it that there's no fucking aim? There's just, like, you doing it because you genuinely love it. Because I see you as someone who, you got a lot that you're doing in life, and you seem to be pretty driven, and you're, like, you have various interests, and I see you as probably having, like, multiple dimensions to you, aside from just, like, I'm going to bomb forever and ever, which I could also see you doing in this weird way. What is your aim, and how do you see that? And then I got another question for you, which is, I'll just ask them both right now, like, you as someone who has seen graffiti come and go throughout people's lives, including your own, and, like, there was a point where you ended up having more in common with maybe other people, or losing touch with that pure raw bombing graffiti lifestyle type of thing, maybe gaining an interest in art or BMX or whatever it is that you got into. How do you look at his journey and the shit that's happening? That's my question.
Okay, well, for one, right now I don't really have a necessarily a goal to why I'm doing it. Like, I feel like, well, my really good friend Anso once told me, like, it just never ends. You just keep going and you just keep going. And I think that's a really, like, sick way of looking at it. I do have a reason why I do it though, and that's because of my best friend Xavier. I I was thinking about it a lot recently, and the love that I have for that dude is like incredible. Like that is my brother in every single regard, and he means the fucking world to me, and we have this really, really dope relationship because aside from graffiti, we hang out every day, and we've gone through literally some of the craziest shit together. We've fucking almost died numerous times. We've fucking saved people's lives together. It's crazy, dude. So like in many ways, like I've like really been thinking about it, and part of the reason why I do it is because of my friendship with Xavier and how much it means to me that we get to be friends and we get to paint together and we get to share this fucking thing that nobody else got together. And it's fucking dope, bro. Like, he's my competition and my fucking moral support at the same time, dude. Like, every single time we have like a folder of like good graph that we look at, that we share together. It's like a shared folder, and we just like teach each other things and like point out certain aspects of why something is good and why something is bad, and what makes something stylistically better than something else. What is cool about this? Why is this more simple but still better than a fucking wild style with 100 arrows? You know, we fucking talk about all sorts of crazy shit like that, and I think it's fucking dope when we paint together, because that's like my favorite. That's literally my favorite aspect of graffiti, painting with Xavier, because it's like the bond that we hold together, and the fact that both of us can do relatively high level stuff together, being the same age, and also having the same mindset about it. You know, we look at the same graph, we like the same graph, and we also know when the other person did something toy, and like we point it out all the time, and it's fucking a dope relationship, because no matter what, like, that's my dog regardless. So like it doesn't matter like if he pointed something out or I did, and we're just getting better together in every way. And like I really think about it, dude. Like that's really my reason. Like friendship is the reason I write graffiti. Obviously, I do it for myself because I love getting better and I love improving on my own style. But shit, in that case, I could just like literally paint the same wall all over again and just keep doing it a bunch of times and just keep getting better like that. But why do I bomb? I bomb because of him, dude. I bomb because it's a fucking competition, but it's also fucking like, it's this fucking passion we have for each other, and I fucking love it. Yeah, sorry, I got a little deep and passionate there.
Well, you know, listen.
What do you have to say?
As your dad,
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, it's such an interesting thing to experience through you and see you go through. I think that because of Xavier, because of your friend circles, who I think are all pretty upstanding people in their own right, I think this is the reason why I trust you to be out there. You know, like, I think you dug yourself out of childhood and grew up to be very aware with strong ideas about how you see people and see the world that you live in. I've heard you say some crazy shit that I didn't learn until like my 30s, you know? And this is why we trust you out there, because you're like a feral cat. You know what I mean? You are aware of what's going on in your environment on multiple levels. And it's crazy to watch. You know, when we've gone out together painting, I see you change, like you're in a trance of some sort, which is nice, you know. Like it's a good feeling to go out with somebody that you trust and, you know, feel like they know exactly
Dude,
what
I don't
they're
even,
doing in
I,
in that place.
I like don't even fucking bomb with people anymore. Like the only person that I fucking enjoy painting with is like either like you or Xavier or like close people around me. Like, dude, yeah, like it's no longer like a thing where like I want to meet new writers like that and go paint with them. I just want to paint with my friends, you know, but like quality, like put out quality shit with them and like have a good time, but like also be fucking aware. Be fucking aware that this shit isn't safe. Fucking I broke my back fucking last summer and that was definitely a big...
Was that really last summer?
Yeah, last August, yeah.
God damn, dude.
Yeah.
It's
In my
crazy.
brain, it was like 4 months ago.
Yeah, dude, it feels like 4 months.
Wow.
But
How has that? I know we talked about it, but I don't really remember fully anymore. How has that changed your perspective going forward on life and graffiti and
bro,
your
I feel like
placement?
I fucking matured fucking 20 years in the past 9 months since it occurred. I feel like, dude, like I feel like I don't know, I've just had so much time for self-reflection like I said before, but now that self-reflection really hit in a way where like I know that I want to keep going with this, but I'm going to play it in a way where I'm not fucking reckless, you know? I do this because I love it, and throughout the whole time that I fucking was laid up, I was thinking about it, dude, like, am I going to quit? Am I going to keep going? And I was like, you know, I've gone this far, and I still fucking love it, and I don't not love it, so I'm just going to keep going and keep doing what I do, but be mindful of the things that happen to me and like make sure that doesn't happen again, you know? And I'm sure for you it's fucking crazy too, Pop, to experience like a son going through like an injury like that, right?
Oh, nobody wants to go through that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was touch and go for a little bit. It took me a long time to really process it, but I knew that you had youth on your side, and you tend to handle these things pretty well. You've had some pretty bad bone breaks in the past, so
True.
you know the drill, but it's not something that you're going to be able to continue getting back from, you know, recovering from.
Yeah.
You know, that's a small window.
Yeah, it's a really fucking small window. So I definitely understand that this is my
Yeah.
youth, and for now in my youth I want to, you know, do things the way I do them, just like everybody else did, you know. There's a reason why the people who did those things are now where they are, you know, but fucking just be mindful.
So listen, I've noticed that since your injury, you have grown a lot as far as your styles go. You had a lot of time to just fucking stay in bed and chill and think about graffiti and think about style, and you've really been pushing the limits when it comes to finding your place in the styles and style categories. What is it? How would you describe this journey?
Well, so I think prior to breaking my back, I was kind of on a go, 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 go kind of thing. And I mean, I get it, dude. I was young and like I wanted to just get it in and have fun. But, and that was great. That was great. But now that I'm a little older and have a little more experience, I'm like paying more attention to the greater aspects of graffiti, and that it's not just me doing it to go bomb and get my name up, but also just to progress as a human being. And I've learned that through you, because in my opinion, you're one of the greatest graffiti writers in terms of style. And I think it takes a certain level of intelligence to produce the type of work that you do. And I really, really look up to that. And since my injury, I've had so much time to grow and learn, and I think it's reflectant in my style more than anything. I think this time of reflection and growth and maturity is just part of why I'm able to do what I'm able to do now in graffiti stylistically, because it's well,
So, what is
yeah.
it that you're trying to add to the history of graffiti that, say, is in your opinion, is lacking? Um, what do you want to introduce
Well,
into the world?
I think New York graffiti is not at its best currently.